Why, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Truly Odd podcast, where we bring you the latest in game news and movie news. I am your host, Joe Garcia. So grab your controllers, get your popcorn, and let's dive right on in. Now, before we get to our news topic, we did miss yesterday's episode of the podcast. I ended up playing Monster Hunter, so I'm going to be bringing you guys a little quick review for Monster Hunters, and that'll be our first topic for today. So, I wasn't initially going to play this game. I was never even going to purchase this game. Luckily, I have a fantastic girlfriend who enjoys games like Monster Hunter, Assassin's Creed. So, I think it's good to have, a person in your life that kind of plays the games that you're not interested in. So that way you maybe even have a chance to give it an opportunity. And with that, I've had the opportunity to play Monster Hunter because not only did she ask me to give it a try, but one of my best friends asked me to give it a try too so we could play online together. So I ended up jumping in, and initially I really wasn't interested, and I'm going to be honest with you, I skipped a lot of the story because I really wasn't interested in the story. I just wanted to hunt monsters. And I ended up really enjoying the gameplay. It was a bit of a learning curve for me. Like when you first pick up demon souls and things like that, you kind of got to get used to dodging and rolling and aiming at the enemies and things of that sort. But overall, I got to play it for, I want to say, about 15 hours now, and I'm on chapter 4 of the game story, and I've been enjoying the gameplay so far. I really haven't been paying attention to the story. The story seemed kind of boring to me overall, but the gameplay itself and the ability to play online with some friends and attack an enemy together and collaborate has been pretty entertaining. I'm sad that we have, in my household, we have a hard copy of the game, so I can't play with my lady online. So I think we're going to have to get another copy of the game at some point so me and her could play together because I know that's something that she wants to do. But luckily for me, I get to save some money because I get to distract her with Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is coming out tomorrow. But yeah, overall, Monster Hunter Wilds is pretty decent in my opinion. A score out of 10, I would give it a 6. It's nothing that I would go and play again necessarily. I wouldn't go fall back on it for myself, but I've enjoyed the gameplay that I have played, and I will continue to play it from time to time, especially because I enjoy playing online with some friends. But yeah, that's just my little quick overview of my Monster Hunter Wilds gameplay experience. And these type of games seem to be very popular for a lot of people. So I highly recommend you check it out if you get the opportunity. If you're even have an inkling of interest in the game, you should definitely check it out. Moving on to our next topic, looks like Assassin's Creed Shadows has its reviews out. Now, I'm going to talk about the Metacritic one because I feel Metacritic is probably, somewhat of a Rotten Tomatoes-esque meter with multiple critics reviewing a game so you get your final score. And right now it's sitting at a 81, which is decent, I guess, for a game. It seems that some people really enjoy it. Some people are in the middle of the road, and some people really, really hate it. I think the worst one I read, I'll give you a little short description of it. It's from Dual Shockers. It says Assassin's Creed Shadow is a bloated collection of uninspired quests that quickly turn into repetitive, boring grind. Now, there's more to his comment, but I just wanted to read you initial comments. So that's probably one of the worst ones I read. But one of the positive reviews actually gave it 100 on Metacritic. Starts off interesting. It says, there's a problem with Assassin's Creed Shadows for sure, but it is fun to play. And there's more to it. He talks about the gripping story and things of that sort in his comments, but I just thought that was a very interesting way to start his comment when he gave it 100%, even though he said there are problems with Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I don't know. Maybe he's biased. Who knows? That comes from VG247. But yeah, it's looking like a middle of the road game. Not a great Assassin's Creed game. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Have you checked out the reviews? Will you be purchasing the game tomorrow on March 20th, 2025? Let me know what you guys think of Assassin's Creed down below. Moving on to our next topic, Helldivers 2 Borderline Justice War Bond. So if you haven't been playing Helldivers 2, they just announced a new war bond that will be dropping on March 20th, 2025, tomorrow. Seems that we're getting a lot of content for tomorrow when it comes to games for a brand new game and extra content for Helldivers. Now, I haven't been playing Helldivers for quite some time. I've been distracted with Split Fiction, been distracted with Monster Hunter Wilds. I even got a chance to play Dragon Age, I think it was, which I downloaded from the PlayStation Store. But the reason I fell off on Helldivers was, the typical why everyone fell off when they were changing how hard the gameplay was and things like that. It just didn't become very interesting, and it got boring and repetitive after a while, so I just stopped playing it. And some of these war bonds can have dragged me back to the game because I'm interested in checking out some of the weapons. But with the gameplay style and the guns that they introduced in this trailer that we saw, which I'll have in the description down below. Yeah, one seems to be like a laser revolver, and the other one seems to be like a old school Western lever action rifle. And that was kind of interesting when they introduced the M1 Grand looking weapon into Helldivers, but the way that this game is laid out, it's really difficult to use those kind of games. So without them being super overpowered, because it takes like, I don't know, like 3 shots to kill an enemy with a 7-round mag, and that just makes no sense with that gun. And I'm curious what this one's gonna do, so I might have to jump on and check out the Warbond. But honestly, I feel like has become a bit lackluster, and I think the problem with that is what Sony did with their, or not Sony. I wouldn't blame Sony. Sony's more of the problem with them was more of the Steam stuff with the, making it a must to sign up to PlayStation and things like that. It was more the studio changing the gameplay to make it more difficult for some reason when it was just fun. I think if they kept it that way and they didn't mess with a lot of the settings from the initial release, then I would still be attracted to the game. But I fell off on it, and that's just how it is sometimes with games. They make changes, you don't like it, or you get distracted by other games. But let me know what you guys think. Are you still playing Helldivers? Is this a warbond you're interested in? Are you going to be checking it out? Let me know what you guys think. Moving on to topic number 4. Looks like PlayStation's has formed a new studio, which is led by the developer of the Call of Duty Zombies. Now, his name is Jason Blundell. Forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong. And he has started a new studio with PlayStation, and they've been working on a project. Now, we don't know what the project is. There are no details. But his studio is called Dark Outlaw Studios, and I'm thinking that they're working on a multiplayer game. And the reason I don't think they've announced a lot for this game so far is because a lot of the failures that have come with Concord, and I think Sony's really taking a step back and trying to figure out what they want to do with these multiplayer games. I can't imagine this not being a multiplayer game since Jason comes from a Call of Duty background. And I don't know who he's working with, but I'm assuming it's some of the team from Call of Duty that he's brought over, and maybe some other people in the industry. I'm hoping it's some of the games that we had mentioned last time, Killzone and SOCOM. I would love it if this would be a SOCOM game. I don't care what studio makes it, but yeah, it's nice to know that Sony's still working on developing good games with great creators and great developers. But it's just really difficult what they're going to end up doing in the long run because Sony has made so many failures with Concord, and they've shut down so many studios. So it's very curious what they're going to end up doing with this project. I will be keeping an eye on it. I'll be getting updates probably when I think they did a podcast episode. It's in the description down below from Game Rant. I wasn't sure what the podcast was called. I didn't look too much into that, but I'll probably be checking that out after this episode so we can see if there are any other initial details. But from what I read in the article, there wasn't too many details that he released for the game, but we will be keeping our eye on this game. Moving on to our next topic. It looks like Game Informer might be returning. It looks like they posted on social media a little teaser clip showing the website that the state it's currently in, which is funny because when I first started doing this podcast, I was looking for places to find, video game news and things of that sort. Of course, IGN's a very big popular one. I used GameSpot, used GameRant, used some other things. But the first one I initially went to was Game Informer. And when I went to their website, it was down. So this clip shows the Game Informer website being down, their little messages that they have. Then it shows it glitching, and then it just shows a date, March 25th, 2025, which is in 6 days from now of the recording of this podcast. And this is exciting news for me because I just recently started this podcast, and I think Game Informer could be probably the best place to get gaming news besides IGN, of course. And the reason for that is because initially Game Informer was a magazine. Now, if you never heard of Game Informer, it used to be collected back in my day. I remember having the God of War magazine. I remember having a bunch of different magazines come in every month for Game Informer. I remember going into GameStop, picking up the newest Game Informer magazine if I missed it or whatever. And yeah, and I know that there's collectors out there that have a lot of the Game Informer um, magazines, and they sell them and things like that. And this is just exciting news for me. I don't think they're gonna be returning with a magazine because nowadays magazines aren't very popular. And they might have maybe a little subscription thing because of the popularity of the Game Informer magazines. We'll have to wait and see what they do with that. But I'm excited for this website to be up and running, and I'm hoping that they bring us some gaming news, and I will be using them probably as my main source of news information if this is what I think it's going to be. Hopefully it's the return of Game Informer. If not, I'm going to be a little sad, honestly, but that is my hope. But what do you guys think? Did you grow up on Game Informer like I did? This is where I used to get my news information before the internet was widely available to everybody. And, for younger kids, you don't know what that's like. But, for us older people, and probably in our early to late 30s, we knew what it was like growing up with VHSs and having to get information from the library and get in magazines. And finally, a return of something from my childhood besides Blockbuster that I could really, really enjoy. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for the return of Game Informer? Moving on to our movie news topics. So we got a lot of trailers dropped. So I'm going to be using this as our first 4 topics. I have 3 written down here, but there was another one I seen before starting the podcast that I would really like to talk about. And it's not on our topics here, but it is the Elio trailer from Pixar. So if you haven't seen this trailer, Elio is a boy who wants to be abducted by aliens because he feels like he doesn't belong on Earth. And then, of course, comedy and hilarity and Pixar hijinks ensue. And this trailer was so lovely. I laughed so hard at the scene where Elio is holding the alien bad guy's son as hostage, and he starts tickling him, and then his dad's like, "Oh, what is that noise?" It's and it's just his son being tickled and laughing. I thought it was hilarious. It looks so cute and adorable. I can't wait to go see it. I don't have kids, but I love seeing kids movies sometimes because, the one thing Pixar does better than I think any other studio is when they make their animated films, while yes, it's kid friendly, it's not a kid's story. It's a very adult story that they tell usually with their animated films. Elemental, that just came out I want to say 2 years ago, was very adult. It was basically a romantic comedy talking about different cultures and races and things of that sort. It's very adult themed, but in a very kid friendly package. And I'm thinking Elio is going to be the same. This looks like a lot of fun, and I really, really enjoyed this trailer, and I highly recommend you guys check it out if you get the chance. I'll see if I have time to throw it in the description down below if you guys are looking to where to find the Elio trailer. But moving on to our first topic, which I'll now saw our next topic, is there has been a new teaser trailer for the Happy Gilmore 2 movie. And, I think Adam Sandler's movies for quite some time now haven't really captured the hilariousness of when he was in his youth. And this seems to be another kind of movie like that. It doesn't seem as funny. And now, mind you, this is just a teaser, so this is just what I'm getting. It doesn't seem as good as the original so far from what I'm gathering. It just seems whatever. But however, I am still very excited for Happy Gilmore 2 because, it's just Happy Gilmore. I would love to see this character be returned. But it looks like he hasn't been playing golf for a while. He probably retired after a long time of playing, and now he's returning to the game and picking things back up. I'll be very interested in the return of Shooter McGavin and how all that's going to work out in the movie. But overall, I just felt like this teaser was a little underwhelming, and I'm hoping that they stop releasing teasers and give us a full trailer so we can know what the story of the game is, or the movie is going to be. Moving on to our next trailer to talk about today, Materialist. Now, some trailers, a lot of trailers drop that we don't talk about here on the channel because there's just too many, and that would cover the whole movie news segment just talking about trailers when they're released. But this one I want to talk about because it comes from A24. Now, if you don't know what A24 is, they're a studio that makes very interesting and weird type of movies. They did Everything Everywhere All at Once. They did some ghost movies. They've done some just weird movies overall. And in my history of knowing this studio, I've never seen them do a regular drama, and this one seems to be a regular romantic drama with, of course, a little bit of comedy thrown in there. It stars Chris Evans, Pedro Pascal, and Madam Web herself. I can't remember the actress's name, forgive me, so I'm just going to call her Madam Web. Uh, but yeah, she's from, what's it, 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, I can't remember her name at all, but she's a great actress, good performer. And this movie looks very interesting. It looks like a return to form for romantic dramas. And, it's funny to say that because I feel studios don't really make movies like this anymore to be released in theaters. And the reason for that is, studios tend to either make big, giant budget movies or they make very small, independent films for Oscar baity things. It seems that they stopped making middle of the road romantic dramas and things like that, and this seems to be the return to form for that, and I'm excited for it. And this movie looks like a lot of fun, and I'm hoping it's more of a realistic story. And let me see what I mean by that. If you know from the trailer, you kind of understand the premise. There's the rich guy she's interested in, and then there's the guy she's loved for a long time who she ended up being with. And in the regular, drama story, she's going to end up with the guy that she's been in love with for so long. Realistically, she'll probably end up with a rich guy, because, it's a new relationship. He's rich, and there's just pros of being with that guy. So I'm curious what they're going to do, seeing this is an A24 movie. Maybe she doesn't end up with anyone at all. But yeah, it's very interesting what they seem to be doing with this trailer. So I'm very interested in this film. So I'll be checking it out when it is released. Moving on to our last trailer to talk about for the day. Ballerina trailer. A new Ballerina trailer has just dropped. And wow, what a fucking trailer. Forgive my language. But what a trailer it is. I really love what they've done with this character and expanding the world of the John Wick franchise and the Continental. And this movie looks awesome. Now, initially, from the first trailer we got, it looked like John Wick was going to be teaming up with our protagonist to help her out in her venture. But it looks like in this trailer, they have teamed up against each other. We see her shoot at John Wick, and we see him aiming at her with the sniper rifle towards the end of the trailer. And that just made this much more interesting of a movie because we're going to be in this movie. And I love it because what they're going to do is, right now we don't really care about this girl per se because we know John Wick. But what they're going to do is they're going to get us involved in her story, get us invested in her progression and things of that sort, and then they're going to pin two characters we really like up against each other with John Wick and the Ballerina. And then hopefully it'll probably be like a Godzilla X Kong where they team up at the end. But it's just very interesting what they're doing, and it's very interesting that they showed that in this trailer. And this looks like so much fun. And it's funny, from the first trailer. So my biggest gripe with a lot of movies is, no offense to any females out there, you girls can be badass just as much as a man can. But the truth is, a lot of men can overpower women. So I get a little annoyed watching certain movies where women are fighting men, and they're overpowering the men. It just makes zero sense. That's why I loved in the first trailer for this movie that the lady said cheat. If you're gonna survive, if you're gonna fight, cheat. Don't be afraid to cheat to win. And it looks like she utilizes those skills. For some reason in this movie, her beating up all these fucking people makes a lot more sense than any other movie I've seen. Of course, besides like a Marvel movie where, these are superheroes we're talking about. So yeah, this just looks really awesome and really believable. I am very excited for the Ballerina, and I cannot wait to see it. But let me know what you guys think. Are you excited for the Ballerina movie? If any of these trailers interest you, tell me what you think about all of them in the comment section down below. Moving on to topic number 4 of the day. It looks like Ted Lasso has been renewed for season 4. Now, I have not seen Ted Lasso, and I've heard many, many wonderful things. And I've been wanting to check out the Ted Lasso show, and the only reason I haven't is because I've heard rumors of them coming out with the season 4. Now, I'm the type of person where I like to binge watch my shows, unless it's a show that I've already picked up and I just can't help but watch it, like Daredevil, Born Again. But Ted Lasso seems to be a very cool show with great people, a lot of comedy. And because they're coming out with a season 4, now I have the opportunity to watch all 3 seasons before I jump into season 4, which I will be doing once this is going to be released. So I'm very excited to finally get a chance to check out this show. And I don't know if it's going to be any good. I'm going to be a little sad if the first season, the first 3. I usually give a show 3 episodes to capture me. So if the first 3 episodes don't capture me, I'm going to be a little worried trying to push through. But from what I've seen with Apple TV, with Shrinking and Silo, I'm thinking that I'm going to really enjoy this show, and I can't wait to check it out finally. But let me know what you guys think. Have you checked out Ted Lasso? Are you excited for season 4? And should I give it a start already, or should I wait for season 4 to start dropping? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Moving on to our last topic of the day. It looks like Starship Troopers is getting a reboot. Now, if you haven't seen Starship Troopers, the original, I highly recommend you stop this podcast right now, go find Starship Troopers, and check it out. It is a phenomenal movie. Now, it is not an Oscar baity movie at all, but it's very fun, very entertaining, and it's just really, really good movie in my opinion. I used to watch it when I was a child. I love the movie. I watch it from time to time, and I'm very, very excited for them to reboot this. Now, I think they're rebooting this because of the popularity of Helldivers, seeing that that kind of stuff has been very popular. But if you are a fan of the original Starship Troopers, this is probably not going to be what you guys think it is. Now, the person helming this is going to be the director Neil Blom. I think it's Neil Blomkamp is his name. He was the director of District 9. He also just recently directed the Sony movie, what is it called? Gran Turismo, which I think was a very good movie. And this director is a good movie. He's been attached to some interesting projects that have never got off the ground. He was attached to the Halo project when Peter Jackson was involved, but that didn't get off the ground like they wanted to. He was also attached to an Aliens reboot with returning of Ellen Ripley and things of that sort that never got off the ground. I think it's because Ridley Scott was doing his Prometheus movies at the time, so we missed out on that. And yeah, it just seems he hasn't had the opportunity to really get a lot of his projects made. Now, we have had District 9. We have had, I think it's called Elysium with Matt Damon. And then we have had Chappie with Hugh Jackman and things of that sort. Those have been his own independent movies. And him as a director, District 9 was really good, but Chappie was not so good, and Elysium was not so good. So he has a very, middle of the road track record so far with his filmography. And I would just be very interested what he does with a franchise that is not his own, because he hasn't had the opportunity to do that yet, at least from what I've seen. And the one that we have seen as far as grounded level for a film, Gran Turismo, he did a phenomenal job with. So I think the budget of the Gran Turismo movie was about $60 million, and I think it made like $120 million worldwide, if not more. I don't have the numbers with me right now, but that's from my recollection, and which is pretty good. Doubled its money. Now I probably broke even for the studio, but from what I've heard, Neil Blomkamp is not going to be remaking it from the movie Starship Troopers, but from the original novel. I think it's from 1959, if I'm not mistaken. The novel by Robert A. Hellion, forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong, but Robert A. Hellion, forgive me. Anyways, so he's going to be basing it off the book. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the original movie had really little to do with the book information. They basically used the story and then kind of up the propaganda-esque stuff and made it less serious and more campy, from my understanding. And I think the novel's a little more serious and grounded when it comes to this content. So I'm very curious what he's going to do with that. I think it'll be a little bit of a mistake if he doesn't incorporate some of what the original Starship Trooper had. And the only reason I think that's a mistake is because that's what people have come to know and love about that franchise, with the crazy political messaging and things of that sort. So I'm very curious what he's going to do. And I think he's a very underrated director. And I'm excited to see his new Starship Trooper project, and I can't wait for it to be released. I think it might be coming out in like, we're looking at maybe 2028, 2027, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Did you love the original Starship Troopers like I did? Are you excited it's going to get a reboot? And what do you think of Neil Blomkamp as a director? Do you like his movies, or do you think he should stop making movies in general? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Truly Odd Podcast. So thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. And until then, remember, stay true, be odd.